importantly, it is also Veerbhumi because even before the British came here, uh, there has been a very, very strong tradition of valor. And if you look at the folklore, if you look at all the folk stories and folk tales, you will come across so many great characters who have shown bravery of the highest order. One of them I would focus on a little bit is Madhav Singh Bhandari.
Right.
So we all celebrate the Igas festival, and Igas is celebrated a month after Diwali. And that is primarily because Madhav Singh Bhandari went to Tibet to fight the Tibetan forces. And he told everyone back home that if I do not return in a month's time, you can perform my shraddh and you can carry on with your business. It would mean that I have lost the battles. So he went away to Tibet on an expedition, and he did not come within 30 days. And people were very sad, and they performed the shraddh, and they were grieving when he returned victorious. And that's when people celebrate the Igas festival. So this tradition of valor has always been there. And of course, with the coming of the British, I think before the British came the Gorkhas. So
Yes, sir. Yes,
Asal's
sir.
work is also on the Gorkhas.
Yes,
So the Gorkhas came almost a decade before the British came, and they occupied this region. Of course, Kumaon they occupied for longer, but Garhwal they occupied for close to 10 years. And that's when in 1815 the British came to fight the Gorkhas. And the British were very scared of the mountains. They never wanted to be in the mountains. They knew that they would not be able to fight the locals.
Right.
In the mountains, it was very treacherous as a landscape for them, and it scared them. But the Gurkhas created so much trouble for them that they were actually forced to come to the Himalayas. And the first battle was fought right here in Dehradun, which is called the Battle of Nala Pani. A lot of people also remember it as the Khalanga battle. So the Khalanga battle was fought in 1815, 1816 in the Raipur area. So that was the theatre of the battle. And the British were, they had a more disciplined army, they were much more equipped, they had bigger numbers. The Gurkhas, they had a very small number. So it was almost like 5,000 versus 500. And the Gurkhas did not have any cannons. The British had cannons. The Gurkhas were only fighting with muskets and swords. But so the British thought that it would be very easy for them to take over the Khalanga fortress. But it turned out that within the first day of the battle, the British had lost 6 of their top officers, including Major General Rollo Gillespie, who was leading the charge. So with so many casualties on the first day itself, the British were very rattled. They never prepared themselves for Gorkha valor, that the Gorkhas would fight with them so bravely. And but of course, they managed to make the battle continue for many, many days. And they laid a siege on the Battle of Khalanga until they were able to cut off the water supplies. So once the water supplies were cut off, the Gurkhas, they had to leave the fortress and emerge from the fortress. So Balbhadra Thapa, who was commanding the Gurkha forces, he came out of the fortress and escaped towards Punjab. But they were not able to capture him. The British were not able to capture him there. So once this battle ended, there were many other fortresses across Himachal where the British had to tackle the Gurkhas. And gradually they realized that if they wanted to keep this region with them, and if they wanted to expand within India, these are the people that they would have to contend with. These were the people that they would have to incorporate into their own armies. And because of that, a lot of the Gurkhas, a lot of the Garhwalis, a lot of the Kumaonis got recruited in the...
This is how Gurkha came to be an integral part of British Army.
Yes, and until today. Until today, they recruit the Gorkhas. In fact, Gorkhas are also part of the Singapore army. So it showed them the valor of the hillmen. But it was not just the Gorkhas. Once they established the regiment, so Major Young, who was the ADC to the Major General Gillespie, he recommended to the British that we should establish a regiment of the Gorkhas. But these Gorkhas were generally hillmen. They were Garhwali people also, and they were Kumaoni people as well as the Gorkhas. So the first battalion was established, which was called the second King Edward VII's own Gorkha, or the Sirmaur Rifles. It was established very close to Dehradun in Sirmaur, and then gradually the recruitment began, and they realized that the hill people of this region of Uttarakhand, not just the Gorkhas but the Garhwalis and the Kumaunis, were winning them all the battles in the world wars. So because of that, they kept on expanding this recruitment, and then you had the Garhwal Rifles and the Kumaon Regiment and all the other units that were established.
Sir, how have these two regiments, particularly this Garhwal Rifles and Kumaon Regiment, contributed to the Indian military legacy? Please share some insights about it.
So, yeah, of course, that's a very, very, it's a very, one can expand on that a lot. But, like if you look at the Victoria Cross of Darban Singh,
yes,
or if you look at the early, the stories of valor of so many other great people even from the Gorkha community. So the early Victoria Crosses were all from these regiments, which shows the kind of valor that they displayed in various theatres of war. And as I said, in independent India and even with British, most of the battles they won for
Indian Army.
The Indian Army, yes.
Sir, now we come to Dehradun. During the World Wars, Dehradun served as a significant military hub, as we all know. How did these global conflicts influence the region's military infrastructure and personnel?
So yeah, when the British came here, they followed a policy across the board. So they were the Punjab Hill States, which is now Himachal Pradesh. These were very little kingdoms. They were ruled by small principalities ruled by kings. Either they were Devatas, who were divine kings, or these were human kings. Okay. So there were a number of principalities across, like Rampur Bashair, like Mahasu district. So small kingdoms like Tihri itself. So the British generally followed a policy of conquering the kingdom from the from the Gurkhas, and then returning the kingdoms to the principalities, to the kings.
Okay, sir.
So they never wanted to rule over this region. The Himalayas, because they were scared of the Himalayas, the weather was too tough, the terrain was too tough for them. So they never wanted to occupy these regions. They only wanted to control the trade from Tibet. So at this point in time, 1815, 1816, the trade in cotton was deteriorating. There was very little trade in cotton. And the next big product the British thought, which would boost their economy, would be Pashmina wool.
Pashmina, yes.
And Pashmina wool was found in Tibet and Ladakh. So the only reason they came and fought the Gurkha was that they wanted to protect the trade routes from Tibet and Ladakh and bring in the Pashmina wool. So once they had secured that, once they had made treaties with the kings that you will secure the routes for us, we will not bother you, you rule over your kingdoms the way you want.
They were not interested in ruling the principalities over there.
Yeah, because the weather was too tough for them, the terrain was too tough for them, they were not prepared for this. And But when they came to the Doon Valley, they realized that, oh, this place is so beautiful. They fell in love with the Doon Valley. It's so close to the heat and dust of Delhi. They had never seen a beautiful valley like this. So they decided to keep it with themselves.
And the atmosphere of Mussoorie was very close to European climate, so that's why they like this place. And
at
developed
that
this.
point of time, it was wilderness.
Yes, yes.
But when they came here, they loved the valley so much. Even with Kumaon, some of the areas they just fell in love with, and they refused to return those areas to the Rajas who were ruling. And so Garhwal was divided into two: British Garhwal and Teri Garhwal. And the British Garhwal, the British occupied, and they started giving it an institutional character. So Dehradun was, their vision was to give it an institutional character, establish the best military institutes, establish the best research
They
institutes.
established IMA over here.
Yes, something like an Oxford or a Cambridge, that kind of character they wanted to give to Dehradun.
Right, sir. Post-independence, how did the military traditions of Uttarakhand evolve, especially with the contributions of the Garhwal Rifles and the Kumaon Regiment?
Oh yes, the military traditions, they evolved because it's a continuous tradition. What I want to stress is that it's not just that the British did this for us, or that.
So we want to know something about when British left this country.
Yeah.
How this
Okay.
evolved.
So when the British left this country, I'll give you like the 19th